I think we're ready to start. Most of you already know Thomas Zoells. We've had a long, wonderful relationship with PianoForte and Thomas Zoells. Cynthia, Emmy, and I got a sneak peek at some of his special pianos upstairs, and we had the idea that everybody should see these. So, welcome Thomas Zoells to tell us about pianos and everything else you want to tell us about.
Welcome, everyone, as usual, on the second Friday of the month, is it? Yeah. I think the idea that I thought I was going to talk about is our relationship, which has gone on for about 20 years. I know most of you. I've known most of you for many, many years. But maybe some of you will hear some things for the first time, and I hope there's lots of people on the Zoom. But I thought we could go down memory lane a little bit, and I would tell you a bit about what happened over these 20 years, and then you'll be able to put a parallel on what happened in your area of musical life, and just to make it clear, we're between friends here. We're very flexible, so I think this program is going to go something like this. I'll discuss the last 20 years, and then maybe we'll go upstairs and discover these special pianos, and maybe we'll come back. I know time is short, so maybe we'll come back, and I thought I would also give you a little educational snippet on pianos and technology, especially since yesterday we moved this beautiful piano onto the stage, and it happens to have a silent system, and so I could tell you a little bit about what one can do with that and why in our digital world it's actually become kind of important to know how to use it and how it can fit into a perfectly traditional, beautiful instrument. So that might be the last part 3 of today. So the whole idea of PianoForte started with a somewhat ridiculous premise. I always wanted to do something with music. I did something with music in my 20s. I worked for classical music agents in Europe and found that to be very exciting and enjoyable, but not a way to make a living. So fast forward 20 years, which I spent in banking. For those of you who don't know, I grew up mostly in Switzerland and in Vienna, but as a Swiss, we go into banking. This is what brought me to Chicago, by the way, where I met Darcy, who is back here, my wife of 34 years. You'll see when we walk around that she's actually not a piano person, she's an illustrator, an artist, and you'll see a lot of her works all over the place. In particular, I'll point out the grand piano lids that are hanging in the showroom. She painted them in the back stairwell. The ridiculous idea was that I was not really wanting to be in banking, and on a vacation in Switzerland, visiting family, I encountered Fazioli pianos, fell in love with the incredible craftsmanship and sound and just quality of these instruments. Discovered completely by coincidence that nobody in the Midwest had ever sold one of these. And so I just got it in my head that I should open up a little store and sell these beautiful instruments. So I also knew that if I wanted to do this, it should be in the Fine Arts Building, just because it's the coolest building in Chicago when it comes to music and the arts. And also, it's at the center of, being European, cities have centers. And in the center, you typically have, the concert hall, the opera house, the museum, and so forth. So to me, when I looked at Chicago, I felt like it has to be somewhere down here, even though I hadn't actually thought that no other piano store was anywhere near. So I set up shop on the 8th floor of the Fine Arts Building. Darcy let me quit my job and sit in a room with 4 Faziolis, a desk, which is a beautiful antique, and a couch, and that was it. So I'll tell you a little bit about the milestones, but first, the first milestone that's important to say here, and unfortunately she's not here, but the very first student recital we had, so we were in this little room, 1,100 square feet, with a little stage, maybe many of you remember it. It was Studio 825, and the piano on stage, 3 pianos in the hall, and foldable chairs from the Chicago Youth Symphony. And in December of 2004, our first year, Linda Barker called up out of the blue and said, "Can you host a student recital?" And I said, "I think so." So she had a lot of students back then, so actually we couldn't. But what we did is we divided it in 2 groups, and we had group 1 and group 2 in the same kind of event. And she had a friend, Richard Knight, who happened to be there, and he was a journalist for the Chicago Tribune. Well, he decided this was so cool that he wrote a big article, like it was nearly the whole page. You can see it upstairs, it's in the office, this article, about this student recital in the Fine Arts Building and this new place, PianoForte, and so on. And really that's how the whole CAMTA relationship developed. And there were people like Laurel Johnson, I think, was president fairly early on, and of course, many of you who are here, Elaine, I think we've known each other about 20 years. So that's how that started. So the biggest, the first big milestone was that in October, roughly, of 2004, this gentleman walked into this little room with 4 pianos and declared that he liked the space and liked the pianos, and that we should do a weekly radio broadcast on WFMT starting in January. And he said, if he asked me if I wanted to do that, and I just said yes, and that was it. There's a few things I didn't know. I didn't know how it's done, so there's a bit of technology involved. We had to install a phone line at the time. We used phone lines. I didn't know how it was going to be recorded, where the host would be, and most importantly, I didn't know that it would also cost me about $1,200 a week to do this. But I was like, well, I'm doing it. So the good news is PianoForte was immediately on the airwaves every week, and people got familiar. The bad news was I was running out of money real fast, and at the same time I had to find 52 pianists to play every week for the year. They didn't take any Fridays off. It was Friday at lunch. And so, but we're off to the races we went, and actually I should explain that when we started PianoForte, I knew nothing about pianos and I knew nothing about selling pianos, but I knew something about organizing concerts from what I did in my 20s. And so I thought, well, we need a business to sell pianos and we need a non-profit to organize concerts. So we created both at the same time. One is called PianoForte Chicago, the other is called PianoForte Foundation. And the foundation's task was to raise the $1,200 a week to pay WFMT. By the way, you might wonder, why does one pay a radio station when you provide the content? The reason is advertising. The deal was, we give you an hour, there's no ads. We usually have 8 ads in an hour. They cost $150 an ad, and so you need to pay for not having any ads. And that's how it works. So that's how we got started. When we started, just to give you a little picture of the piano scene, there were a solid dozen piano stores that were doing fantastic business, and we were number 13. The smallest one, actually the most ridiculous one, since we did not sell a single piano in the first year, but we just sold one. Why? Because we had only Fazioli. They're very expensive. It made no sense. So, but I was learning on the job, and we grew quickly, and we started. We needed more space, so we kind of went down inside the Fine Arts building. We had a space on the 6th floor, on the 4th floor, another space on the 8th floor, and eventually, after 6 years of that, we moved to the 1st floor. So I'll just remind you of where we are now. Now we have maybe a handful of piano stores that are still active in the Chicago area. Who disappeared? I was trying to think of some of the names, so I'll tell you some of the names. Biasco, Carnes, Saphir, Hendrix, The Beautiful Sound, Family Piano, that's very recent. I remember there was a Baldwin factory store. And they all went out of business. The business has shrunk. It went from a high, which was in the year 1999, 2000, to in 2024, we're at about a quarter of pianos sold, both in dollars and in quantity of pianos from there. Tremendous shrinkage. But good news for us, because we started very small and we're very careful. We've grown and we're in that group of 5, so that's good. So then the big turning point was when we moved to the 1st floor of the Fine Arts building. Somebody walked in and said, "Oh, you have a really nice store, retail. You should be a Kawai dealer." And so I said, "Sure, let's be a Kawai dealer." So we became a Kawai dealer. It was a very good relationship. They're very nice pianos, as you know. And that really transformed our business, because In the piano business, if you want to make it, you have to have one of three brands that you can sell new, meaning you have a relationship with the manufacturer. Steinway, Yamaha, or Kawai. Kawai being a distant third. That world has also evolved. The next big turning point was after 3 years of a retail spot in the Fine Arts Building. The owner of the Fine Arts Building decided that he should triple our rent, which, you know, we were barely making it as it was, and that was not an option for us. So Darcy and I went shopping for another place, we looked a lot, and we happened on this building, which was derelict in a very strange section of the South Loop, because most of these buildings were nothing, and there was a parking lot across the street that was just dirt, and there really wasn't that much going on. And the neighborhood had been really bad, and so on. But the determining factors were, it looked like we could maybe afford it, and secondly, it had a Michigan Avenue address. Everybody knows Michigan Avenue. If we were on any other street, it would be a harder sell to get people to recognize the store. So we went for it. We bought this empty shell, and of course by then the owner of the Fine Arts Building was regretting what he said, and immediately was trying to say, no, I didn't mean it. Well, it was too late. So the next big turning point was we're set up on the first floor here in this beautiful showroom, and somebody walks in, and it's the Yamaha rep who says, oh, you have a beautiful retail store, you should be a Yamaha dealer. And I said, sure, let's be a Yamaha dealer. So that's how we became a Yamaha dealer, and I really wanted to keep Kawai, but as time went on, Kawai decided it was better not to have someone do both. We're still friends. And so that was another big turning point, because as a Yamaha dealer, the phone rings more frequently. It's just how it is. So our business kept growing. In terms of where we are now, so we carry Fazioli still very proudly. Unfortunately, they sell, so the one, I only get about 3 in a year, because he only makes 150 pianos for the entire world. There's about 8 dealers or so in the US. There's maybe 30, 35 pianos sold every year in the US. And so you can imagine there just aren't pianos. So I've been on the list for over a year for my next 2, which are arriving in January. I still have one in that room. So Fazioli. Then we had the second brand we took on was called Wendel and Lung. It was kind of from the sublime to the ridiculous. A very inexpensive Chinese-made, but a very interesting piano, because it was designed and distributed by some young Viennese technicians. And I partially grew up in Vienna, and when I met them through a pianist actually who was visiting here, we immediately clicked because we speak the same language, and so they're very dynamic. Wendel and Lung changed names. It's now called Feurich. You'll see a bunch of them upstairs. Some of them are actually now made in Vienna. I two of those up there. Very interesting pianos. We'll look at those. Then we became a Grotrian dealer. So I'll do a few parentheses because this is also what's happened with dealers is happening with manufacturers. Grotrian is now bankrupt. Then we took on Schimmel. Schimmel is nearly bankrupt. I'm waiting any moment to hear that they'll be gone. Then Kawai, as I explained, then Yamaha. More recently, we took on Sauter. Sauter is interesting because, people really want German pianos, but what is a German piano? Grotrian was German, but they were purchased by Parsons, which is Chinese. Schimmel was German, but they were purchased by Pearl River, which is Chinese. Zeiler was owned by Samick, which is Korean. So Sauter is owned by a German family, and it's as German as it can be. So we have those. Let's see. And then we more recently took on Bechstein. Bechstein is interesting because they have a new owner. He's a billionaire and made his money in real estate. Since 2017, he owns Bechstein, and he has just decided that he wants Bechstein to be the foremost European piano manufacturer, and he's nearly there. It's incredible what's happened. I visited Bechstein a year ago, and I could not believe what I saw. And it would take too long to explain it all, but you'll see some Bechstein up there. We had a 9-foot Bechstein on stage for a couple of weeks, and it left yesterday. When you're in the elevator, don't look at the ceiling because it got a little bashed in by the piano. You have to go like this into the elevator, and it's a 9'4" piano, so it hit the ceiling. Okay, so I didn't mention a parenthesis, which is that I said that we thought we could afford this building. Actually, we couldn't, and so what happened, and sometimes I feel we're so incredibly lucky. A tenant showed up. This wasn't like a rep walking through the door, but we had a connection with a broker who helped us buy this building, and he said, "How would you like a tenant on the first floor?" And we were like, "Yes, please." And so the tenant that you see now, this sort of wellness business, they are the ones that allow us to be in this building. Otherwise, the piano business itself and what goes on this floor do not support the expenses of running this building, in particular the real estate tax. Just if you were wondering. The parenthesis is that when the tenant moved in, we had to move out. So we hadn't thought of the setup that we have now. So we moved to the 900 North Michigan building. Okay, we need to move on soon. So before we go up to the third floor, I just thought I would share a little bit of wisdom learned over 20 years. There are things that seem so ridiculously simple, but believe me, it takes many years till you really, really get them. The first one, the first two are business learnings, which aren't going to help you necessarily, but maybe it helps you kind of understand how we have to think. So this one is I knew this from my years of studying accounting and being in banking, but I didn't totally get it. In the piano business, the most important thing are terms, not margins. What it means is you have to have pianos on the floor that sell quickly and don't sit there forever. Now, we're going to go up there and we're going to look at the cool pianos, and they are exactly the ones that shouldn't be up there because they don't sell quickly. They're cool and they're important to have because people will want to visit and they will want to look at cool pianos, but we know that we really need a lot of those Yamaha U1s because they're going to turn. So that's number one. Number two is that we make our money not when we sell a piano, but when we buy a piano. Sounds a bit counterintuitive, but I actually spend much more time looking at what pianos I should buy for the inventory than the pianos that we sell, or spending time on selling whatever. I'm not a good salesman. I don't like to sell. That's beside the point. But if you buy well, then the value is embedded in that asset that you've acquired. So this was particularly true during the COVID times. I was literally every day in my car driving to people's houses, looking at their pianos, and buying them if I liked them, and not buying them if I didn't. So we have sort of a stockpile, a secret stockpile of pianos. Right now, we're at about 34 grand pianos that are not here, that you won't see, but they'll trickle in as we sell pianos that we have. And then the last is a wisdom, but it's more just for ourselves, my wife and I. It's honesty is the most important thing. The only thing you have in this business is trust. So people have to feel like we're going to do the right thing. And what I've learned is that, it's always kind of felt that way, is that if I don't want to do a business, or somebody is so disagreeable to work with, or the situation is not transparent, or whatever it might be, we have oodles of really fun stories, which we can talk about after, over these beautiful cakes, by the way. Thank you. I look forward to that. It's fine not to sell something or not to do a certain business. It's really not so important. Money is not the most important thing in a business like this. We do it because we're passionate about it, we love it, we love these weird objects and what comes out of them. We love the music. So, shall we go upstairs?
Yes.
Ooh, here are the pianos. This is exciting. Some upright pianos. Oh, but back there, do I see some grands?
Okay, so we'll just start with in here with a couple of things. First of all, these two pianos are Sauter. They're super German, but they're also quite beautiful. Actually, we just put them there yesterday because we thought they would look nice here.
Where are the keys? Can I open the lid?
So this is to show, you know,
the design.
the design,
Oh,
because the
got it.
design is important.
Yes.
But of course, they are excellent pianos. And so this maybe leads to an interesting point, which is that the piano itself, what is in here, they're a model 122. They come in, they can look in very simple, you know, like your traditional black, you know, satin or shiny piano, or they can look like this. When an upright piano is made, especially in Germany, because that's where I've seen it, they build them naked, meaning the whole piano is constructed without what we refer to as the skin. So the panels, what you're looking at, it's added very much at the end of the process. So you'll see like a row of pianos that are all naked, and then they'll say, well, we have an order for a you know, polished U 122 model. Well, put the U on, you know, and so
It's interesting that there's no support for the keys there.
it's you know, a lot of these ideas are in people's heads.
What color is it when it's not, doesn't have anything on it?
No, there's nothing on it. You're just looking at the
The
action.
inside.
You
and
just see the action.
Yeah.
And the music stand is unusual on that.
Can we hear it? Is it allowed to play? Somebody?
Well, they're you sure you can play anything you like. Yeah, they're extra long. Which is nice. Yeah.
It's so modern. When I was in Germany, CAMTA was not that modern.
So and these designs are made by a German architect called Peter Mali, and Sauter, you know, works together with them so that they can do something a little bit different. Every manufacturer tries to do something to distinguish themselves.
Sounds different. I would have assumed they are quite similar, but they're totally different. This one is much more open. The keys are the touch. This is a little easier. This was a little harder.
And the top is interesting on that.
Yeah, the top is.
I noticed when I came early, I came.
Move on to the next. You're welcome to. I mean, we're not going anywhere, so you can keep looking. And,
Oh my gosh.
so this is a brand new concept piano. It's named a Keybird, and the idea is to create an acoustic piano that can compete with digital pianos, both on price and on transportability. So, you know, this is extremely light and literally it doesn't require a tuner to tune it. I tuned this piano myself. It actually comes with this and with an easy app called misspelled. That's how cheap it is. It's called the Pano Tuner. And you can see that all I need to do for the C is to be in the green zone, and it's tuned well enough for me. It's very simple.
Could we use it too if we have the tools and then not just the app?
That's the idea.
Wow.
Yes.
How much is it?
It's 3,900. And everything is designed for lightness. There's a music stand though.
What's the name again of the company?
Keyboard. It's a Danish designer, engineer.
And the first one we sold actually had a silent system on it, so you can
Yeah.
you can get it with a silent system.
Yeah.
So, like for an apartment or something.
And the idea is that it is portable. Or not?
And acoustic.
And how much are the instruments, can I ask?
3,900 roughly.
And how many have you sold?
Oh no, I have this not really. I can sell it, of course, but I don't
Kind of
have
a
it
prototype one.
to sell. No. The concept of the company is to sell these online. So
Just a model to try
I actually just got a call the other day from somebody who bought one online, who's in the Chicago area. He didn't buy it from me, and he's like, "Well, I'm actually moving somewhere else, and do you want it?" So they're doing their own selling.
Do they come in full-size keyboards too?
Which is full size.
It's
No,
full-size?
it's 69
Yeah,
keys.
that's a full-size keyboard.
No, that's for lightness, and then the keyboard section comes out also. If you want to put this in your car, it's not that difficult. Okay, moving on.
Ooh. Some digital pianos.
So, yeah, I think the hall was a little chilly. Okay, so this is maybe to show you that we like Steinway pianos. We have Steinway pianos. These are two different kind of animals. This one is not something that I would usually do, but a professor in nuclear physics at the University of Chicago retired. This was her piano, and it was, everything had to be redone. Everything. So I sent it to a rebuilder in New York called Clavier House. The Clavier House was created by two Hungarian brothers, artists, like really artists, and they're phenomenal rebuilders. One of the brothers passed, but they rebuilt this in sort of the Hamburg philosophy. It's a New York instrument, of course, but they follow a Hamburg philosophy in how they rebuild, and I think it's very beautiful. And the finish, of course, is striking. This is called Honduran mahogany. Voila. This, on the other hand, is something different. This is actually vintage-wise, this is an 1894 Steinway, which was collected somewhere in the U.S., was sent to Poland, and was completely rebuilt. So I say completely. So here. A Clavier House rebuild means new keys, new action, new soundboard, of course, new strings, new dampers, blah, blah, blah. Over here, a rebuild means we keep the original action, but we completely clean it and replace all the pins and bushings and so on. We keep the original soundboard, but we fix it. And then, yeah, everything else. I think we keep the original keys, but we redo them. Everything else, of course, has to be replaced.
Can we hear the sound too?
I have a question. So on this piano, what then is original? Just the iron? If they replace the case and the iron, if they replace the soundboard and the strings and the action and everything, so what is still here?
So the art of rebuilding is really to replicate exactly what was there. So you could say that it's not original, but at the same time, it's replacing the original that got too old with exactly the same design, the same pattern, the same everything, but it's fresh and ready to go for another 100 years. So yeah.
Okay, so it had a similar look to the wood and.
Oh yes.
Oh,
yes.
interesting. Okay.
Well, so the finish again is it's the skin of the piano. It really has little to do with the inner workings, but this is the wood that it was made in. The original had it satinized, and this is a different process to make it shiny.
So they use Renner mechanics?
Yes.
What?
Yes. Well, this has the original Steinway action. So it's a New York mechanic. Now the hammers, that's a question of choice. In here we have Renner hammers. In here we have Abel hammers. Both German, both top quality.
I have another question too. How do you keep the insides of these pianos so clean? Yeah.
Very good question.
Oh, there are tools too.
So these go between the strings.
I see. Okay. What is that called?
What are they called? Just call them soundboard cleaners.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thomas, do you find that the sound is the same no matter what it's done to it?
Oh,
Okay.
not at all.
You know, because I had a lot of problems and it ended up being very similar sound.
Oh, yeah.
Tom Porter did it for me.
Yeah. So I mean, conceptually, what I described about the rebuilder trying to replicate what was there, just to improve it. The corollary to that is that the sound should be the same, right? But in the end, so much of the sound is dependent on the hammers and the voicing that there can be quite a bit of variation.
But it's interesting how the piano eventually finds its way back.
It has a personality. Yeah, the personality is actually determined by this weird design on the bridge. You know, this kind of snaky, not always totally logical path. That is the DNA of this instrument. So when you rebuild it, if you do not follow that exactly, then you are creating a different instrument. And every maker has for each model actually has its own scales. We call it the scale design, which is like, where does it go and how does it influence a certain register of the piano?
Does the shiny finish affect the sound?
No.
No, not at all?
No.
But I thought in Germany and Europe they are all shiny, and here it's more matte. Is it only trend? I thought it was with the sound and the humidity. Is not right? Oh, interesting.
No, it's a fashion.
Just fashion.
But there's a reason why this kind of finish has won the battle. It's because two reasons. It's extremely easy to maintain, and it usually stays very nice for a very long time, which with the satin is not always the case. And it's extremely easy to repair it in a way that you would never know that anything happened. Believe me, we've had a lot of things happen. and we know the people who can fix
For
this.
the kids, that's what they used to say. I'm not a musician. I'm Thomas's wife. I'm not a musician, but what I've gleaned from the different rebuilders that pianos have built is it's like a philosophy, a cult, a guru, what, you know. So trying out this piano with this particular rebuilder was partially, you know, a leap of faith, but also partially he had known him for 20 years. He was the other. He had been the Fazioli dealer in New York, so they knew each other well. He knew his work. He knew it wasn't just random. It wasn't, you know. He's kind of a special guy. They were special brothers, and similarly, you know, these are from us. You know, it's not just random. Like, it's not just buying any kind of rebuilt piano because it's also, besides the DNA. And I'm just saying this because I've been to the factory, the Fazioli factory. It's how everything comes together that also makes the piano what it is. Like Fazioli, everything is fitted exactly to be together for that particular instrument. And when you have it rebuilt, it's the same thing. They're fitting everything together to be for that particular instrument. It's not off the assembly line, you know? So it's a really individual thing. Is that not right? Okay. I don't know.
So
it's just
this is an interesting case because Poland has many large rebuilding shops. This one is owned by the Meyer family, and there's two brothers now that run it. They'll be here next week visiting. So Meyer has been so successful at this. This is, for me, kind of hard to comprehend. They finish 24 Steinway rebuilds per month.
Oh my God.
It's
how many people
it's huge.
work on?
I mean, it's like the Steinway factory.
Which you visited, I'm sure.
No, I have not.
The Steinway factory.
I have not. No, I have not.
I have.
Oh, good.
It's amazing.
The Steinway Hall many times, but not
But the factory, I had to go there for the piano at Montgomery Place. I couldn't believe it. You have to go there. It's really amazing.
MTNA had a field trip there when we were in New York.
They paid me to go to see what was happening to their piano, and it's really it's like an experience.
Well, I'd love to go there, but
well, you have to be careful.
I have a strange relationship, or rather, they have a strange relationship with me because they see anybody who carries Fazioli as kind of.
I get it.
They feel threatened.
Of course.
Not that I'm any threat whatsoever. No, but not really.
I did an internship at Steinway in Germany, and the first day I walked in, everyone said it was a joke. Spy from Yamaha here, cover everything.
Yes. So anyway, this is an interesting outfit.
Do they ship the pianos by air or by boat?
They do it by sea because there's enough of them coming. But in many cases, from Europe will ship by air. It's not that much more expensive, but it's much safer and quicker.
The Fazioli's come in a carton, like a wooden crate that has sensors on it. So if it's been fallen over, it's been fallen.
So you said this is what makes the piano unique.
That's the one with the extra keys, right? This is the one with the extra keys, right?
No, only certain models have extra keys.
He's going to show us.
Okay, come over here.
Just so you're aware.
Yeah. All right. Last one. Then we'll go back. So this is a Feurig made in Vienna. It's a very interesting upright because it's not like any other upright. So the first thing is, this is a copycat model. This one's not plugged in, but
Oh, nice.
Hmm.
so you want to play in the middle of the night with no lights on. It will light the music and the keys, which is kind of fun. It also has this feature of providing more direct sound to the player, so it feels a little bit more like a grand. But now the two important things. First thing is they've invented, patented a kind of spring that makes the repetition on this piano more like a grand, but actually even faster than on a grand. So I don't know how much you know about piano actions, but basically when you push the key, there's something called the jack that pushes the knuckle that pushes the hammer up. And after you've completed the motion, the jack ejects, escapes, that's the proper word. It escapes, and then you have to let the key back up for the jack to reset. Okay, and so in a normal upright, sorry, this one is horrible at the moment. Wow, this one is unusual. Okay, this is a usual upright action. If I try to repeat, I basically have to come nearly all the way up the key to repeat. With this design element, no need. And what's great about it is not that we're all going to play Chopin etudes. I can't. But it gives you much more control, and you can relax, and you can play very soft. You can really. It really is a huge enhancement. The other thing is that typical upright pianos. Give this one a go again. This won't allow us to see here. Usually the pedal mechanism is a bar that goes to the side of the piano, and the side of the piano operates the sustain pedal and the soft pedal. It's kind of a convoluted system, and it's not very precise. So, we know grand pianos work much better. And so Feirik said, well, we're just going to do it exactly like a grand piano. So here, the trap work goes straight up, and so the control of the pedals is considerably better. Now, of course, whether you like the sound of it or not, that's totally subjective. But design-wise, they're very innovative. This is called the CAM, K-A-M-M. It's maybe won't surprise you that it was a Frenchman who invented it. All right, shall we head back down? Just finish with a few minutes.
You want to try?
You're welcome to come back up.
All right. How does it feel?
It's easy.
Yeah.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Oh
It's
my
really
goodness.
wonderful. It gives me chills. Wow.
So the last bit I was going to tell you about is about how technology can enhance acoustic pianos. And in particular, there's one thing that is, it's again one of those things that's both very simple and sometimes a little bit hard to wrap one's head around. But in the 70s, there was a protocol developed called MIDI. MIDI has become very important in music production, etc. And it's simply a digital protocol for music that in a given MIDI data point, it contains things like pitch, duration, velocity, what else does one need? Sustain. So there's two levels of MIDI. There's pitch, duration, kind of simple stuff, and then there's enriched MIDI that has more deeper data about that particular musical information. And MIDI is powerful because once it's captured with software, you can transform that into sounds, which are sampled from acoustic pianos, but even more than sampled, they are now modeled, so that you're not just taking, the various notes that are being played, but you can also add harmonics that are embedded in the piano, even notes that are not played but held, things like that. So it can really go pretty far in trying to mimic what's going on in an acoustic sound. Of course, it's not an acoustic sound. We must agree on that. It's never going to be an acoustic sound. It's just trying to fake it. So what's MIDI used for? It's used to record. It's used to mechanically play a piano. That's what you would find in a player system like disc clavier or stereo or piano disc. But much more importantly nowadays, it's going to allow people to interact with the digital world. And it might not be a huge deal for us, but for younger people, I see you saying a lot of, for younger people, this is very, very important. There are literally thousands of apps out there that can do all kinds of things involving music, and what do they need to do this? They need MIDI. They can be learning apps, they can be entertainment apps, they can be games. Yes, please. Yes, please.
Yeah, do you mind if I give a few examples?
Please.
Yeah, okay, so if anyone came to the CAMTA, or the ISMTA presentation, the game that we made uses MIDI. So the MIDI game, MIDI is just the digital representation of music. And it allows us to do things with like taking pictures of sheet music and putting it into Finale or MuseScore. It allows us to do things like having a piano perform with you as your accompaniment. There's some really great things and cool stuff.
So, what does this piano have? Something very simple. It has a strip under here with little lights on in it, lasers, and it has a little bit of reflective material that's glued on the bottom of the key so that the lights can reflect against it. And when I play a note, it's capturing the MIDI information contained in that note, i.e., what's the pitch, how did I hit the note, what's the velocity on the key, what's a mimicry of sustain, what the sustain is going to be, and so forth, and so on. And that is captured here, and this can interface via the old USB with anything digital. So I play a piece and I want it to be written out in musical form because I'm a composer. It'll do it. I play a piece because my piano teacher said I should practice this piece, and when I get to 110 on the metronome, I will have succeeded. I can play it at 110 and put it on a USB and then email that data file to my teacher to say, hey, look, I did it. I really love Taylor Swift. I want to learn how to play one of her songs. I have the song in my Apple Music. I was going to say iTunes. That really dates it. I have the song in my Apple Music. I can use I'm not going into showing it because we don't have time. But there's a Yamaha app that can take that song, analyze the chords, write out the accompaniment for me in musical notation if I know how to read music. That's a whole other thing. It could have light-up keys on a digital piano that would tell me where to push the notes. And I could learn the song. You can even tell a program to cancel Taylor Swift's voice in the mix, and then you can do the singing. Whatever you want to do. You're a drummer, you can do the drumming. So just to quick demo here is like this. So this is the acoustic piano, and now I turn this off. So this is a silent piano, meaning now it's silenced, and the idea is that I can play over headphones. Now that wouldn't be fun for you, so I put a little speaker. I connected a little speaker so that we could hear something. Of course, it's too much volume. So I picked an electric piano so that you would understand that it's digital sound. I could be playing a Yamaha concert grand or a Bösendorfer concert grand, sampled sounds and modeled just the same way over my headphones. So now to the cool part. This is one of these thousands of apps. This one is called Flow Key. And so I just pulled up the first piece that came up. And so I want to learn this piece, and with my iPad in front of me, it's going to tell me when I play, let's play the real piano, no need for the fake one. It's going to listen to me playing and tell me when I hit the right note. So this is all wrong. Oh, this one's right. And then I have to play this, okay? And it follows with the music. It's not going to work. So that's the end of the demo. We all want cake, but you can see how amazing this is. And this is very simple, and you don't have to be a whiz to do any of this. And this was a free app, and there are thousands of them out there. For kids, there are some amazing little teaching games that you can do. And so I want you to know more about this and maybe delve into it deeper at a later stage, because I really think this can be useful in teaching. Yes, it's going to maybe replace you in certain areas, but it's going to allow you to focus more on other areas. It's always a two-way street. So.
What is the longevity of the street that you mentioned in the beginning?
What is that?
Longevity.
Longevity. Yamaha's made silent pianos for about 30 years now, and I sometimes get a 30-year-old one in. Actually, I have a 25-year-old one upstairs, flawless. And they didn't use the laser system, the optical reading. They use a little plastic arm, it's called TFT, to sort of register. It's a lot less subtle, but it works. So good, the longevity is good. Because it also has no effect whatsoever on the piano itself. It's not invasive in any way. Oh, I wanted to say that there are piano makers that are catching on, in particular Bechstein, that I talked about earlier. Bechstein now, whether you want it or not, on every piano they make, literally every acoustic piano, even the Hoffman line that they carry, it will have a MIDI strip installed, because it actually costs only a couple $100 for them to do it at the factory. It means that every Bechstein is now equipped to do exactly what I just did. It's not silent, because that's a little bit more involved. You have to install a silencing bar, and it's a little more expensive. But it's easy to add on. The MIDI part, though, comes with it standard.
I love how then you don't need to use pitch detection for stuff like this. You can just play an acoustic piano and it's going to be perfectly accurate.
Yes.
No matter what the room sounds like. You could be playing in a concert hall.
Little side note, I didn't know this, but we often provide Yamahas for artists who come through town, like John Legend, or Alicia Keys, or whoever they might be, Taylor Swift. But in the case of John Legend, for example, often when he's playing a concert and you see the grand piano, and the lid is, of course, closed because it looks so cool. Elton John, same story. They are actually not playing the acoustic piano. They are playing MIDI. So the silencer bar is engaged, and they're playing MIDI directly to the board and through the giant speaker system. Why? Because the sound is perfect. And for pop music, the the sampling of the Yamaha concert grand is beautiful. So it requires no tuning. It's always ready to go. So I didn't know they did that, but that's what they do.
Wow.
Well, I think we have to wrap it up now. Thank you. Thank you so much, Thomas. This is so interesting. And I'm so glad we got such a good turnout for this. And I hope that you can all join us for cake. We have a cake.
Beautiful cake.
Beautiful cake made by Emmy Murata.
It should be on the
And-
British baking show.
And then hopefully we'll all go out to lunch afterwards. Okay?
Super.
Thank you.